Hello students, welcome to the session on degradation of natural environment. I am Mr. M.H. Mota, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Sharad Institute of Technology, College of Engineering. So as we all are aware that the increasing use of natural resources by rapidly increasing human population has resulted in overexploitation of Mother Earth. And in the reaction of that, the different consequences have been felt. The few of the consequences might be soil erosion, loss of biodiversity, and pollution of land, air, and water bodies. The list can be exhaustive. This has reached to a certain level which is now started threatening the human well-being and the survival. Population growth. With the growing population requirement for space, shelter, and commodities have exerted tremendous pressure on the environment. To provide for these, land use has changed dramatically. There is a tremendous pressure on using the current pattern of land use. It has already been seen that forests have been cleared for the various purposes to cater the need of overpopulation. The impact of population growth. Few of the impacts are clearing land for cultivation to grow more food, water scarcity leading to extract more water from subsurface sources. So now the depth of different things like well or the bore wells have reached few thousand feet in the certain part of the world. Need for human settlements and transport has leading to deforestation. Need for various commodities like metal has increased tremendously and has been resulted in tremendous pressure in terms of byproducts. Those are there because of the mining sector. Slum development and population resulting from overpopulation has concern for all the governments. The different consequences. The reactions are felt at local, regional and global levels. Soil erosion and landslides are much common. Increased frequency of floods and drought has been experienced. Silting of river basin has been started, which has resulted in a reduction of the capacity of river basin to hold the water. Loss of wild habitat and biodiversity has become common. The deforestation is up to very high extent and resulted in loss of CO2 sink. It is one of the reasons why the CO2 concentration in the global air has been increased. It also has resulted in all sorts of pollution like pollution of land, air and water bodies. Then global warming and greenhouse effects are much common and the issues to discuss. Now how we are responding, particularly in India. So India faces challenges in economic development which is to be met from available resources with minimum externalities and in the presence of uncertain climate. The climate here in India is very uncertain. Environmental policies in India have been evolved considerably over the past 4 decades. So in that manner we are responding well. The policies have been responsive to the emerging concerns of both local and global origins. Policies have covered a wide range of issues such as air and water pollution, waste management, biodiversity conservation. So policies have been set on all these issues as such. So in India, law regarding the pollution control is more than 150 years old. The laws have been made since the British era. When the British were ruling the India, they had made number of rules and regulations to control the pollution. Rather, we can see that the pollution regarding things even have been mentioned in different Vedas, which are supposed to be the foundation of the rich Indian culture. The history of legislative fight against pollution started with Indian Penal Code 1860. Sector 268 defined what is public nuisance as such. Some of the important environmental legislations passed by the British includes the Shore Nuisance Act 1853, then the Origin Gas Company Act 1857, then the Indian Fisheries Act 1897, the Indian Port Act 1901, the Bengal Smoke Nuisance Act 1905, the Explosive Act 1908, the Indian Port Act 1908, the Bombay Smoke Nuisance Act 1912, the Indian Steam Vessel Act 1917, and the Indian Forest Act 1927 are few of the significant environmental legislation passed by the British. So post-independence, even we are very proactive. The environmental law started growing its root in India in early 70s. This was actually inspired by one of the conferences held at the Stockholm, where the India had represented. After that, actually we have formed various laws. The few of the important environmental laws include the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, the Forest Conservation Act 1980, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, and the Environmental Protection Act 1986. These are few of the very significant environmental laws passed in India and what we are following nowadays. We'll try to understand different laws in brief. So we'll start with the Wildlife Act 1972. It was the first significant environmental law that was passed post-independence. The main aim of this act is to provide protection of wild animals, birds and plants from matters connected with these, and to ensure ecological and environmental security of the country. The act adopted two conservation strategies. First, specified endangered species are protected regardless of location, and second, all species are protected in specified area. Second is the Water Act 1974, which was amended in 1988. The Water Act was enacted under Article 252(1) of the Constitution as a social welfare measure. The main objective are to prevent and control water pollution, to establish central and state board for the prevention and control of water pollution, and to provide and confer powers and functions to the central and state boards to restore wholesomeness of water. Next is the Forest Conservation Act 1980. This act deals with the conservation of forest. The main objective of this act was to check deforestation. Then the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. The main objectives of this act are to prevent for the prevention, control and abatement of air pollution, to provide for the establishment of central and state boards, to lay down the standards to maintain the quality of air. The Environment Protection Act 1986. It is the first Indian legislation to deal with environment protection, and its components in a holistic way. So this is one kind of a very comprehensive law made for the environmental protection as such. This is even abbreviated as EPA. So the EPA provided a framework for management of hazardous substances, prior assessment of the environmental impact of major development projects, discharge of industrial pollutants and effluents into the environment. It can be either water, on land, or even in the air. Guidance for industrial siting and management of chemical accidents. Along with this, we are following different environmental management standards. ISO 14000 series is one of such series which guides us, or which guides the organization for the management in terms of environmental protection. So this kind of standards helps organization to minimize how their operations negatively affect the environment. Then the compliance with applicable laws, regulation and other environmentally oriented requirements, and continually improve in the above statements. So these are the standards which are actually helping the company to move in a positive direction in terms of environmental management as such. It maps out a framework that a company or organization can follow to set up an effective environmental management system. It can be used by any organization that wants to improve resource efficiency, reduce waste, and drive down cost. These are the impacts of following or having these standards in terms of ISO 14000 series. So even though we need to be very critical to think about the way ahead in terms of sustainable development. With our population, extreme climate, vulnerable ecology, compliance ratio of monitored industry being very less, and the economy resting heavily on extinguishable natural resources, sustainability is the next big challenge for the country like India. The new tomorrow which India hopes to see with its economic flashlights requires a very strong argue about environmental feasibility. In this scenario, the environmental agenda is massive. Through the work done by the judiciary in the regard is commendable, but yet a lot can be still expected. The major problems in front of a country like India are the effective implementation of this well-developed laws. The various problems are in terms of the economical reasons as well as political reasons and so on. It would be important to move quickly towards reaching a broad agreement with all major stakeholders on the priority action and develop a medium to long-term program of implementing the agreed action supported by necessary resources, monitorable targets, and clear accountability mechanism. So all these are the aspects about the environmental degradation, and this small session hopefully has represented the brief about the problem that we are facing to achieve the sustainable development. So thank you for having me and attending this session. Thank you.